Good afternoon, faculty and classmates. We're very excited to go over our senior seminar project that we've been completing in the second semester of the year. Our project was with Crossroads Center Rescue Mission of Kearney. I'm Zach Sullivan.
I'm Summer Malsbury.
And I'm Jolly Coa.
So a brief history of Crossroads Rescue Mission. They're a Christian organization that works on rehabilitating guests. They provide a warm meal, a bed, and a 4-phase process that is a catalyst for them to be able to live stably on their own. They're a Christian organization, and their mission statement is this: bringing glory to God through the helping of people. In the early parts of Crossroads, that began in 1983. It started in Hastings, Nebraska, where they were in a Baptist church. They offered soup once a day, and they had one bed offered for provision if anyone needed a place to stay for the night.
As of recent, in 2019, they've expanded into 3 total locations with the addition of the Grand Island location, and collectively they have 150 beds. They also, part of the program is also providing daily meals, which include breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when breakfast is occurring, they have these advocacy meetings to really instill the values that they want to go about.
The mission is also donation-based. They have churches that help fund them, and they run their own other organized programs during the year to help fund their 4-phase process. Their 4-phase process is this. Phase 1 is personal resilience. They hone in on each guest's personal skills, which leads into phase 2, which is helping them find employment that utilize the skills that they already have, which goes into phase 3, which uses those skills and the employment to earn up to $1,000 in a bank account that they're supposed to be able to maintain. And phase 4 is using all of the previous phases to help them leave the rescue mission and live a stable life on their own.
So now that you have a better understanding of what Crossroads is and what they do, we want to go more into what we were tasked with this semester. Our academic service learning was an application of academic skills and knowledge that we have attained through the university and addressing a community need or issue. As you can see here, it's different than volunteerism or an internship because it encompasses community involvement, practical experience, and academic study into a service learning project. The end goal of academic service learning was to create a sustainable partnership between a nonprofit organization in the community and the university. With our initial observations, we realized that a new location created an environment of change within the Crossroads organization. This was seen through management restructuring and employees moving to the Grand Island location from Kearney to help fill that need as they expanded.
As a group, we felt that our best access point was through the Kearney location, which has less than 10 employees. We felt that we had the opportunity to make a deliverable impact on them, and we chose to focus in on their communication within the organization and look to see about their employee satisfaction overall.
Our first objective was to assess the organizational needs at Crossroads Center. We did this by recognition of organizational strengths and weaknesses in key areas such as overall employee satisfaction, supervisory effectiveness, and performance management.
The second objective was to develop a survey where we could assess these key areas within the organization. Following the survey, we wanted to run one-on-one interviews to elaborate on the feedback. And finally, we would combine this data into an actionable plan with recommendations.
Our first step was to collect the data, and the methodology that we used was the conducting of surveys. What we used was a program called Qualtrics, which is provided by UNK. We condensed all of our organizational questions into 15 questions, which included Likert scale questions, multiple choice questions, and also written questions.
Like I mentioned, we ran interviews after the survey to let employees elaborate on the performance in each area and provide additional feedback that wasn't necessarily seen in the surveys. After we collected this data, we created our action plan with specific actionable recommendations for positive change. This is where our strategic planning education that we've learned in the communication department really came into play.
As a group, we looked over our data and disseminated it into a 5-page actionable report that we turned into Crossroads Rescue Center.
These key areas in the action plan included nonprofit trends for 2019, feedback and recognition, personal growth, and several others. First of these is Nonprofit Trends of 2019. Creating an empowering culture of feedback and trust is paramount for any organization, and we wanted to make sure that the supervisors were aware of this. The next was the first Ask Why approach to leadership, where the supervisors effectively convey the purpose behind the tasks that they're asking their employees to complete. And the final trend was to create a one-on-one coaching environment where open feedback loops are just the norm.
Within any organization, feedback and recognition are a good indication of effective communication, which leads to overall acknowledgement and loyalty that comes from employees. Feedback and recognition are a way to combat issues such as apathy, overall discomfort, and also condescending tones. We asked Crossroads Center the question, how valued do you feel your input and opinions are by leaders? And our results were relatively positive. And though we know there's room for improvement, there's always room for improvement, which leads to better relationships, better trust, and also the willingness to voice concerns, whether they be their own concerns or concerns of other fellow employees.
This leads us to our next key aspect, which is personal growth. Personal growth represents the level of autonomy that employees feel they have in an organization and whether or not they're improving upon their skills.
The question we asked was, do you feel like your skills are currently being utilized within this organization? Our results were mixed. Some people felt that there was a fair amount of communication between the employees, that they felt that their skills were being utilized within the organization and maximized, and others felt that there was room for growth for them within this organization.
Our action plan recommendation for personal growth was to have conversations about career goals and the employee's future in the organization.
This led us to asking about relationship between managers and peers. The question we chose to ask was, how would you describe your relationship with your supervisor? Overall, they said that they didn't think there was anything wrong, that there was a fair relationship between the supervisor and each employee. However, some employees indicated that they never had any communication with their supervisor. Thus, we know there is no open communication currently.
Our action plan recommendation for improving the relationship between the managers and the employees was to engage employees on a more personal level, asking them questions about their family, their personal lives, and things not necessarily conducive to specifically work. The next key area that we analyzed was the environment. Research shows that a comfortable physical environment for employees improves output. So the question we asked was, how well do employees have access to material resources such as supplies and equipment? The results were actually very positive, which we were pleased with, but we still wanted to provide them with some sort of recommendation, which we felt a standard resource request process would be very useful for them, especially as they begin new projects working with the Grand Island location.
And within every organization, there's always a subjective culture, which is a collection of common language, beliefs, priorities, and values. At Crossroads Center, the environment is said to be very open and welcoming, along with being faith-driven and faith-based, which leads to that team-oriented mentality that they encompass within the organization. A question that we asked was, how would you rate your overall happiness at work? And we got a 7.5 out of 10.
Our action plan recommendation for improving their culture was to create activities outside of the work environment that employees could do together to help build that team cohesion.
At the end of our 5-page report, we chose to include an activity section with skills. They take less than 20 minutes a day, and we included 12 simple task skills that can build team cohesion within the organization.
In conclusion, we discovered areas of organizational improvement at Crossroads, and we very much admired how willing they were to take in our suggestions, and we felt that our communication between them and us was very much reciprocated.
Overall, as a group, we felt that this was a great opportunity for us to become a team as a consulting group. We had triumphs, we had failures, but we overcame them, and we felt that we benefited both ourselves learning, and the organization.
The biggest takeaway that we really had from the project was the ability to give back to the Kearney community, the community that has housed all three of us, for the last 4 years, and being able to use the skills that we have learned from the university to make a lasting impact. We thank you for listening to our presentation this afternoon, and we'll open it up for questions.